I'm Dr. Pete Economo, the East Coast psychologist,
And I'm Dr. Nikki Rubin, the West Coast psychologist.
and this is When East
Meets West.
Hello, Pete. We're gonna talk about renewal today because I was thinking about it being spring and seasons changing, and it's like spring tends to like have a feeling of renewal, and that to me is very aligned with our mindfulness practice. So,
It
welcome. Hello.
it sure is, and it's also aligned with the difference between the East and the West Coast. So, this is where I feel. I mean, I feel proud many times about living on the East Coast, but this is one of them in particular. So, what were your springtime like in New York?
But it was very interesting because it's seasons are very distinct on the East Coast, like
Yeah.
whereas they're not as distinct. We do have them here, but it's just like a much more subtle shift. But yeah, no, I would say it's like it was really cool because there's like an energy in the city that people are so excited. Like I would always laugh at like hits 50 degrees and everybody's like basically like sunbathing in the park, and here 50 degrees is like on the news cold.
It's true. You'll see it even recently. You got everyone outside with their shorts on.
It's very funny. Yeah. So like you were saying that there's a lot of things you're that's a point of pride for you.
No doubt,
The
because
the
yeah.
celebration of spring.
Well, and just the celebration of renewing, and because
Hmm.
the four seasons are distinct, and you really get to celebrate or not celebrate in between, because of because obviously, like with the winter, it's like cold and gray, and so there's with that comes
Hmm.
a bucket of things. But in the spring, as we're entering, uh,
Hmm.
I'm thankful also I don't have allergies, or at least reaction to allergies, because that becomes a thing for people in the spring. As everything gets flowered and green. But you see it. I mean, I love that you said about the distinctness, because in the winter, everything's like a very like a fading green. And right now it is so vibrant.
Yeah, it's like that, I think it's just interesting because it's like we can look for a lot of as humans, we like to look for metaphors and analogies and things that represent our experience. But,
Yeah.
like spring is very literally like a renewal um, of energy, of color, of, things
Yeah.
being born. And I think that, we got to remind ourselves as humans, like we are also animals. We are
Yes,
also
we
part of
are.
this earth, and part of the ecosystems that exist on this earth, and we can tap into some of that energy.
Yeah.
Like I think it's like, I guess I think about things like that a lot, where it's not just that it doesn't have to just be this sort of like, I don't know, like, oh, spring represents things. Like, yeah, spring can represent things, but we're also like feeling it. Like, I don't know
Yeah.
about you, but like, even though it's not quite as distinct here, like it's definitely like a different energy. Like it's light, the light changes. Like
Yeah.
there's certain
Yeah.
scents in the air, and that helps, like that contributes to my own um feeling of
Yes.
increased energy and like, you know,
Yes.
starting anew or returning to things. Is that similar for you?
Yeah, yeah, and I'm observing that we're focusing a lot on the external, which is easy, but there's also an
Hmm.
inner renewal, and I,
Yes, yeah.
well, you focused on both, because you talked about maybe having more energy and just sort of being a little bit more motivated. Well, that's my word,
Hmm.
but that does happen as the
Hmm.
days get longer.
Hmm.
It's funny. I was. Right now with the NBA playoffs, and a friend, CC from Sweden, was like texting me, and she's watching it from there. And when she sent the picture, I was like, it's really bright there right
Hmm.
now, because it was like 9 at night, and in
Hmm.
the winter they've got very little,
Yes.
daylight. So it is interesting that all of that external environmental stuff has an impact on the renewal,
Hmm.
of the earth, but there's also something internal. Go ahead.
There's something internal. Well, and I think to that point, maybe something that's important to say in this episode is that we don't have to wait for the external to
Yes.
shift the internal. So, I love this time of year. I mean, I'm especially love summertime as many people do. And absolutely that creates an opportunity for me to connect to renewal and a sense of energy. But like we exist all year round. And so I think this is where things like mindfulness practice come in terms of like practicing connecting to and cultivating a sense of renewal. Like I know I certainly feel that when I like sit down even for a few minutes to meditate, you know, like
Yes. Oh yeah.
it's like reconnecting back to myself and like feeling more energized. Like how about for
Yeah.
you? I mean, I know you also feel that way about mindfulness, but
Yeah.
I don't know, other things that you do or things that help you connect internally in that way when it's maybe not, you know, beautiful blossoming flowers everywhere.
Yeah, the sitting is a really great opportunity to do that. And I love that you just brought that in. So thank you for that, because that is one thing that I feel blessed to be able to do with people, whether it's instructing on how to do it or just being blessed to be able to be in the same room with others that are trying to learn or to meditate, because that is a nice renewal. Every time you do it, you're just where you are, you know, and like you said, it doesn't matter what's happening around you. And even though it is nicer, so yeah, and you know, certainly in the East Coast, I'm excited as can be. You know, like you said, when it's 50 degrees, we're in shorts and we're out there taking things off the patio furniture and just getting ready. But I will say that this winter was not cold, and we actually didn't get like really any snow.
Right.
You know, so you know that oftentimes you can almost appreciate a little bit more when you have those really cold, snowy winters, and the other thing about the external is I've had to take 3 ticks off the dogs in 2 days.
Oh,
Yeah. So do you guys have ticks there? This is a dumb question.
yes, but not like in the same. I don't. It's not like a concern. It's like in
Okay.
certain area. I mean, I don't even know. Like in part of the mountains, probably people are
Yeah.
big hikers and stuff. But no, this isn't like we don't. You know, we're walking around.
Not in LA.
We're
Yeah.
like, no, not in the same.
Yes. So really in many parts of Jersey, and I guess, well, in New York, not as much, but you're going to have them. And so the winter would often kill many of them off. And so when you don't have as cold of a winter, then you have more bugs.
Yes.
I mean, here,
I'm chuckling because I like you can see what's been on Pete's mind these days. Like,
oh, it's annoying. Well,
it is.
And you've got a dog with long hair too, so it's not easy to see.
No, so I don't have to worry about it. But
Right.
Getting back to the concept of renewal here,
Yes, thank you.
I would say what was going through my mind while we were talking is that, you know, I mentioned in the beginning of this episode that we just did an episode on the return, and it's funny because return and renewal are two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
So you know, I think about like, 'cause I was also thinking like, what else gives me a sense of renewal? Like being in the ocean makes me feel that way. It's like, you know, meditating makes me feel that way. But then it's also like, I was thinking, but I also like to return to those things. And it's like, and in meditation, you know, in mindfulness, it's about return. You're returning back to the moment.
Yeah.
And as you're returning back to the moment, you're cultivating and connecting to a sense of renewal. And so it's kind of like you can't have one without the other. I don't know. Does that resonate with you at all?
Yeah, I love what you're saying. And I think it is important. Yeah, there's probably like a differentiation. I think in the East, what we would probably say, because the return assumes, I know that when we did that episode, we said we return to when East meets West, which existed, which by the way, we have to take the word new out of the description because it's no longer new. But anyway, for me, renewal is like a new, you know, it's actually, you know, the emphasis is more on the fact that like there's no same thing.
There's a freshness to it. There's
it's a freshness.
It's more, I mean, it says renewal's like, maybe, okay.
Here we go.
About this? Okay. I think the return is the behavior and renewal is the experience.
Yeah, there it is. Yep.
Right?
Yeah, return is the behavior, renewal is the experience. Yeah, I love that.
I have been known to enjoy like operationalizing behaviors.
Yes, you sure do. But I think that really captures it because, you know, you could return back to like surfing, you know, even the behavior, but the renewal is that every time you're there,
it's the experience. It's like the refresh, like the energy of it, like the feeling connected part, you know.
What did you say that return is the behavior, renewal is the experience, or renewal is the
experience? Renewal is the experience, because it's like I guess I would say like you don't practice renewal.
Yeah, you don't practice renewal,
it's
right?
Like,
yeah.
No, I mean you could practice like doing something anew for sure, but like that would be I don't know. I guess I would. That's how I mean. At least that's how thinking of it as we're talking. I'm like, oh, because I'm like, these things are, now that as we're talking about renewal, I'm like, oh, I feel like I can't actually like pull this apart from returning.
Yeah.
Like they go together, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, well, the one thing you've already said is, and I think what the East would also focus on is that renewal is like a nourishing, you know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And there's often metaphors of like nourishing Buddha's seed, or, you know, just trying to like water, you know, you have to water the seed. That's renewal.
Yep. Yeah, I love that you're bringing that in because I use that word a lot, like nourishing, like when I talk about values with people, and I think for myself, it's like the things that we do that are connected to our values are nourishing. And so again, as I'm like thinking out loud here, like I guess like acting in alignment with one's values is maybe in and of itself a practice of renewal, right?
Sure.
Like it doesn't maybe just have to be, because I'm thinking like if it's like a hard, like a difficult thing, like I don't know, if you're connecting to like a value of like, I don't know, perseverance or something, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that's there's more of like it's not like connecting to fun, right? That's not better or worse, but like both of those are going to be nourishing in different ways and contribute overall to staying fresh, I guess, like staying like a sense, feeling alive.
I just had the image of like a washing machine in my head. So like, yeah, sort of,
yeah.
I was like washing clothes, you have to keep it all fresh. And
yeah. The fresh is I love it. I love it.
So ticks, washing machines, whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, so listeners, I hope you are thinking about ways that you can experience renewal and freshness and nourishment, and maybe you go back and listen to our episode on return as well to help further cultivate some of the concepts we talked about today.
This has been When East Meets West. I'm Dr. Nikki Rubin.
And I'm Dr. Pete Economo. Be present, be brave. This has been When East Meets West. All material is based on opinion and educational training of Drs. Pete Economo and Nikki Rubin.
Content is for informational and educational purposes